Welcome back to Jabba'S Bricks and another episode of building Jabba'S Palace in Lego. And this week we've been working on the Rancor, and this was something I thought was only going to take a few days to do, and it has taken all week. It has been so time consuming. So many errors have been made, so many technical problems. It was just a nightmare. We started off really positively with making the claw. And this was just using a snot brick, the ones that have the studs on four sides and also on the top. Attached a modified plate, put like a clip bracket thing on there, and then attached the nail to the end of that, and it all came together really well. Got another snot brick, put two bricks and a plate between the two, and that allowed us to put a plate to hold it all in place. And again, it seemed to be going really, really smoothly. We were using the curved slopes to give the arm definition, and that was it, job done. Next up was to attach it to the upper arm, and we had a couple of different options available to us, using hinges, using clips, and we then started getting to the shoulders, and this is when the problems started to come along. We started using the ball joint pieces, which gave us a lot of movability on there. However, I think this is where we started to go wrong, because they were so big. And the one thing I didn't take into account was the size of the Rancor from the word go. Somebody gave me the measurements a few episodes ago of how big the Rancor, or the moulded Rancor, was. And the plan was originally to stick to that sort of size. However, for some stupid reason, I didn't take this into account whilst building it, thinking, yeah, this looks about the right size. However, it was nowhere near what it needed to be. And after hours and hours and hours of building the Rancor, we had loads of different experiments with it, just trying to make the Rancor look like a Rancor, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. We still looked at it and thought, this is going to fit in the Rancor pit, and although it might not be the size of the moulded one, it's still going to look good, and we might be able to pull it off. So we made the Rancor up, managed to get the legs finally standing upright and get the balance there. Getting the details in the face and things like that were really, really tricky, but we did get there eventually. And the end result, if it was just a standalone mock that you weren't putting it with a minifigure next to it, I was really happy with it. However, when I put it into the Rancor pit, as you can see, it dwarfed the Rancor pit. It was about 2 or 3 bricks too tall to go in the mock. Bending the legs a little bit, could have possibly got it down. Moving the shoulders in, it could have then fitted through the doorway. However, it just wasn't going to work. It was too big. And all those hours of work, although we learned some techniques on there, it was wasted yet again. And it was so frustrating. The build, as enjoyable as it was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever made. And it is something I really need to work on, because I had a similar problem with the Batmobile. The smaller, intricate builds is something that I'm struggling with. So I need to start doing a lot of work on that sort of thing to make my mock skills that little bit better, or a lot better. So it was back to the drawing board. So we stood the Rancor up in front of us and thought, we need to make it a little bit smaller. But what I didn't want to do was destroy the Rancor and not have something at the end of the week. I didn't want to have no product there. We needed something to be in the Rancor pit, and I was determined that that's what we're going to have done by the end of this week. What I decided to do was take the arm off, and then we were going to make another arm. If it failed, we could just rebuild the arm and put it back on, because obviously we had the template from the opposite side. So we took the arm apart, made another one, and the forearm was very, very similar in size. The next thing was moving up to the upper arm. I went down to using the modified plates, which got the ball joint on the end. It enabled me to shrink the mock up quite a bit. So that was the first part successfully done. So I thought, right, we're okay now. We can then start working on the legs. And again, the legs were pretty straightforward. We went for a much more intricate detail. And again, it was using the hinges and the snot bricks, axles, or the brown light-so bits, just going through the centre to give it the strength, and then plates again on the outside to build it all up. The next thing we needed to do was work on the body, and this, I think, again was something that we were way too big on our original mock. So I went online because I was really struggling to come up with something the size that I wanted it to be, and I came across, their name was Hachiroku24, hopefully I've pronounced that correctly, and I was really impressed by the build that they had there. It was absolutely amazing. They did a step-by-step video on how you could do it, and I'll put a link in the description below. So I decided I'd use the torso design for this, or the core of it, and then we would build our mock around that. So we started off that way, and all of a sudden the Rancor started to come together. Again, we had a few problems, and it was a trial and error. Getting the arms attached, we tried numerous different techniques. We tried using modified plates on the side, and in the end we opted to just sort of like put the brackets pointing upwards. And there was two different modified plates that we could use for both the legs and the arms for how attached, and it was a case of trying to work out which ones would give us the most mobility. Once we had this all done, we could start working on the body, and the details on the body came along really well, and I was quite pleased at, again, the detail that we could get in for such a small build. So we built it up, and it took a couple of attempts, but eventually we got there. Next up was doing the face, and again we're really struggling with the head and the face. So once again I went back to Hachiroku24's mock, looked at the head, looked at the upper part of the face, and I thought I loved the way he had the eyes, using the curved slopes which have a cut piece out of them. So I put that in to start with, but I've still yet to work out how I want to do the jaw and the mouth on there. The teeth, I wanted to use the tooth, the same as what I've used for the claws. I think they were a lot spikier, and they look a lot more like you see in Return of the Jedi. So once we had all of that done, the face done, the back done, and everything else, we'd attached the arms, attached the legs. It was starting to come together quite nicely, and we've got the feet done as well, and the mock finally stood up, and it was looking good. Really pleased with how it is. We do need to order in a fair few parts of the right colour, and there are still several bits that we want to tweak on the mock, but the most important thing is that we have managed to make a Rancor now that actually fits in the cave, and as you can see from the picture, it is a lot better than the first one we did. So I was really pleased with the first Rancor, as I said before, but it was just way too big. And it has amazed me how many hours and days I've spent on just making one Rancor. I was hoping to have got a lot more built on the actual palace this week, and the time has just been swallowed up just by making this one creature. But you know, you live and learn, and hopefully we'll definitely make up for it next week with a lot of progress on the actual palace itself. Get a lot more of it built up, and I want to make a start on looking at the hangar section, the roof of the hangar, because I want to try and work out whether or not we can raise that hangar up. Obviously now the back cave has all been finished and the finale's out, we can destroy that, and then we can now nick all of the filler brick and all of the grey slopes that we need to get that Rancor pit all finished up. But anyway, it's been a frustrating week, but the end result is a positive model there. But yeah, anyway, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content. Hit that notification bell so you can be up to date with any future content on the channel, and please share it with as many people as possible. Anyway, thanks for popping on by. See you next time.